I'm going to start with this, Luke chapter 9. And if you watch this a lot, this program a lot, you've heard me talk about this, but it does highlight the shift in thinking. Luke chapter 9 and verse, let's see where we start, verse 51. Now it came to pass, when the time had come for him to be received up, that he steadfastly set his face to go to Jerusalem. And he sent messengers before his face. And as they went, they entered a village of the Samaritans to prepare for him. But they, the Samaritans, did not receive him, because his face was set for the journey to Jerusalem. So, and that's just kind of the backdrop to this incident. This is God manifesting himself through Jesus. This is the will and the heart of God to mankind, humankind, in verse 54. When his disciples, James and John, saw this, they said, Lord, do you want us to command fire to come down from heaven and consume them just as Elijah did? They wanted to literally kill these people because they didn't receive Jesus, welcome Jesus into their town. And their thinking was Elijah, when the soldiers came to bring Elijah, the captain of 50 and his 50 came to bring Elijah to Ahab, Elijah said, if I'm a prophet of God, let fire come down from heaven and consume you. And it did. That's Old Testament, God of holiness, power, judgment. And boy, another 50 came and the same thing happened. Fire came down and consumed him. It was God's judgment and God's glory, God's power being manifested. And finally, the third captain said, oh, man of God, please come with me. I've been sent here. And he had a whole different attitude. There's something about fire coming down and burning people alive that just changes minds. It changes attitude. It's like an attitude adjustment. And that's all James and John. They weren't trying to be wrong. They just were. They wanted the end result. They just wanted people to respect and honor Jesus. But they were going about it the wrong way. Thank God, James and John were not the express image of God's person. If they were, God would still be burning people alive and judging people like that. But things had shifted, and James and John didn't understand it. So Jesus turned and rebuked them. Now, we've been in the New Covenant for over 2,000 years. So this sounds foreign to us, the fact that they wanted to kill people. However, don't tell me you haven't thought about it, but it's not something we practice, you know what I'm saying. Certainly we've all thought about how can I've been to some of these villages where they don't receive you. I've had meetings where they stayed away by the multitudes, and I have had thoughts, but it is foreign to us. We don't operate that way now because this is a different dispensation. Well, it just started at this time. So Jesus turned around in verse 55 and rebuked them and said, you don't know what manner of spirit you're of. The Son of Man did not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. And they went to another village. This identifies a shift in the way that God is dealing with people, the way He interacts. And Jesus is trying to steer His disciples into this new way, this new presentation of the good news. And they were slower to learn, but Jesus knew what this meant. The truth of the matter is, if Jesus had wanted to judge people, if He wanted to use force, He could have done that from heaven. He wouldn't have had to become a human and go through what He went through. The very fact that He's here is so that He can save people, not destroy them. I mean, He could have rained down fire from heaven and burned the whole world up and sent everybody to hell for their sins without having to leave and become human. But He chose to come, and so that just shows you that God has a whole different plan for this world than judgment and condemnation and eternal hell. He came to save And his whole life and his ministry, as he dealt with people, proclaims that. And what's awesome is he's saying, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. This is what we want for you. This is what we think of you. This is how we want to relate to you. And so today, I'm going to give you one example, and then we're going to go on into what I'm going to title A Day in the Life of God. And you don't want to miss it. It'll be the next program. But you don't want to miss that, because I'm going to show you a very long day in the life of Jesus, and how each and every moment of that day was devoted to the people and him interacting with the people. And it's just amazing. When you see the love and the care that Jesus has for the smallest things, you're just like, wow, you mean God cares that much? You mean he has that much awareness? Yeah, he even said, a sparrow doesn't fall to the earth without your Father knowing it. He knows the hairs on your head. God is so aware of you and your needs and what you're dealing with. You say, well, why doesn't he do something? He's available. He's ready. He's willing. All we have to do is pray and believe and accept and allow him to get involved. Now, it's not like you can wave a magic wand and everything changes, but God is touched with the feelings of your infirmities, your weaknesses. He cares about what you're going through, and he knows what you're going through. And it's just so helpful to know this.